What's good, YouTube? Ministeel here, and with every new set, there's always a handful of solo battles that get released alongside them that give us access to not only hourglasses but shop tickets. And as always, I'm here to offer you the best way, or what I believe is the best way, to take down these challenges, not only with the specified opposite type, but also with 3 diamonds or less. So y'all can look forward to me releasing a guide for each of the individual expert solo battles, as this time around they removed any of like the no trainers or any of like the basically everything has to be beat by a specified type and 3 diamonds or less. So each of them will get their own respective video, as I truly feel they upped the difficulty this time around. Also known as they gave rare candy to everybody. Thus all these decks are fast as can be. With that said, Celestial Guardian starts us off with this list that you see here, Decidueye EX. Decidueye, as I mentioned, with rare candy becomes very fast. It just needs 2 energy to attack, so it quickly not only sets up, but it's just a threat at any moment in the game. If there's a Rowlet on board, at any moment it will become a Decidueye and start swinging for 80 to 100. Its ideal start is, however, the Formantis, or the I struggle with the name, but the Lurantis, as they want to do spread damage throughout. They only hit you for 20, but that spread damage allows the Decidueye in the back to hit anything on your board for 100, which is like mainly how they beat you. However, their damage is capped out at 100, whether it's Decidueye hitting something that's damaged or the Tapu Bulu hitting for 100. So I believe that's how it's pronounced. Regardless, as long as you maintain your Pokemon above the threshold of 100, you should be safe, at least for the most part, or at least for the time being. And now that I mentioned Tapu Bulu, it's good. It's a note that most lists, if they start with Tapu Bulu, it's like the best case scenario for you because it's like their slowest start. However, the list that I made for this challenge actually struggles if they start Tapu Bulu, which is kind of odd or kind of rough. Granted, if you draw optimally, it doesn't matter, but I just want to point that out because, however, as like that might seem like a lucky start, it's actually rough for us due to like how our list is made. And another thing to note about this list is the fact that there is no Sabrina or Cyrus. So as long as you maintain healthy, like if you're able to sort of play around the spread damage of the Lurantis, they can't really hit the backline, so you're kind of safe there. And the other thing is how annoying this deck is with 2 Capes, Erica and Lily. Not only, and on top of Decidueye's HP being 170, it starts becoming very annoying to take this down, but I promise you it's possible. And the way we're doing it is with Scolipede Turbo. And before we get into the list, I want to mention that regardless of whether you're playing this build or you're playing like a Koga Weezing or whatever you decide to do, it does seem to be a lot easier if you're going second. So you might consider like resetting until you go second, or maybe get lucky, get it off rip and win. Not that you can't win going first, as there is an example later on in the video where I start going first and through a few hoops I'm able to win. It is a lot easier if you just go second. And the list you see in front of you is one of like 4 different iterations that I used to beat the challenge, and all 4 worked. However, none of the 3 prior felt consistent enough for me to present it to a video. I feel like if I gave it to you, it might take you like anywhere upwards to 5 tries to like finally get that lucky win. And I don't like offering lucky wins, although here and there it might happen. I feel like this is very aggressive and very effective. Yes, there's certain hands where you struggle, or they just drew too good, or in some cases them drawing bad, like I mentioned earlier. Tapu Bulu kind of like hardwalls you, because since we don't have like a coughing to like spread like little damage, we're just trying to swing big and hope to win. Them just sitting behind something big and eventually swinging for 100 might be too much for us if we don't see the right cards. But our list is built to beat their standard opening, like what they usually open or what they're going for. We are definitely built to equipped to beat, which is like the main purpose. Like I mentioned, their go-to play is to do spread damage with the Lurantis, which is why we focus on Poison Barb as our main way of like causing poison. As we put in our lead Pokemon, they do their spread damage, they get poison, then we start swinging very hard. Otherwise, we're just like turboing 70 damage until everything's gone, which also turns to work. I believe in one of the examples it happens that way. If not, in testing it happened, where just going Scolipede for 70 with a body that's 140 and healing that body so they can't knock it out is enough to win this challenge. And in order to keep that life above 140, we max out on as much healing as, not as much healing because there is other cards like Pokemon Center Lady and stuff like that we could play, but we are maxing out Potion and Lily in order to keep the Scolipede as healthy as possible and out of range of the Decidueye. Whether or not you're hit, you're just aiming to be above 100, whether it's 110, whatever it is, you just want to be over 100, and you're pretty much safe for, again, like I said, for the time being, in the sense that once it starts adding up, you do struggle, but after a turn or 2, you should be able to just lock up the victory. And the reason we don't play Cape, which would help with this threshold of HP, is because Barb is so important in causing the poison. When they finally have to hit you with Decidueye, it's really easy to close out the game after the fact, regardless of how much healing or what they decide to do. This list essentially takes a page from like the Charizard EX builds or the Rampardos, where we're just like trying to find efficiently as possible our finisher and just deal as much damage as possible. That's why we play Iono and Communication for consistency. And we only play the one Pokeball because there's only one target in the entire deck, and we don't want to draw dead Pokeballs as going throughout the game. Then we have the last two cards that we haven't really touched up, Cyrus and Leaf, which are sort of like flex spots. Those could be anything that you find necessary. Leaf did feel a little lackluster in testing, but it had its uses. Cyrus, however, felt really strong. However, the Leaf, you could swap it for like a Guzma, because you could get rid of their capes, making their threshold, like how much damage you have to deal, be far more like easier to reach. There's also Red that lets you hit Decidueye harder. It's certain cards and certain things that could work, but honestly, this list worked for me. As far as like other things you could do, like I did try and was able to beat this challenge with a coughing list, like the standard coughing Scolipede with rare candy. So feel free to try something like that if you feel like it's a little better. However, I did feel it got a little clunky at times, and I thought just going pure aggression was the best way to go. Ultimately, this is honestly the most fun I've had in a while making one of these lists, especially like the darkness only, because I felt like I kept going to my bread and butter of a Scolipede with something, or Muck with a coughing. Like it was just a coughing Koga list, like spun up in certain ways with certain little cards to deal with a certain battle. But now with rare candy, we were able to take a whole different spin on the list, and I don't think it has like meta relevance, but it was definitely fun. And I feel like if you take this list and take it back to other expert solo battle guides from the past, you would just like beat it with flying colors, because the speed and aggression that this list has is something that I've never felt while using a Koga list or a poison list. So let me know down below if this worked for you, or if you had as much fun as I did using it, or if it did help you, or you're looking forward to the other expert solo battle guides that will be released in the coming days. Please consider liking and subscribing, as we're getting really close to 500, or at least a lot closer than I thought we would at this point in my like YouTube channel. So any support is appreciated. I want to thank y'all so much for watching, for subscribing, for anything. Stick around for the gameplay. If you it kind of gives you a better idea, much more than my words can, about how to play the deck. And above all else, stay pro. All right, going second, which is ideal. We are guaranteed the Venipede. All right, Rowlet. Okay, Pokeball's fine. They usually, it's funny enough, they actually usually don't start with Rowlet, if I'm being honest. But the fact that they started with that kind of allows us to do this instead. Usually we don't want to put down the second one early because of the spread damage that Fomantis has, but as of right now, this seems safe enough. Obviously, if they go like Rare Candy Decidueye already, it's looking a little rough, unless we see our own. The good thing though is they can't deal damage currently. Also, not awkward, but odd like placement of energy, right? I wasn't gonna do it this way, but if they're gonna commit like in that order, I think we have the time to poison them rather like naturally rather than anything else. All right, research. If they don't heal or anything, we're just taking over right now. All right, perfect. We have the Lily unnecessary currently, but we go here, and now we have this rare candy for whenever we see the second Scolipede. As for anything here, nothing else to do. Just take the knockout, and realistically, a second Decidueye is fine because we have the Lily. We don't have Poison though, currently. Poison Barb is a card that we wouldn't mind seeing. I'm aware with the list that I currently have, we're kind of like dependent on seeing the Poison Barb, but that's fine. That communication is dead, unfortunately, because we are only playing 5 Pokemon. But we could go here, technically. And do 70. No need to heal just yet, because the most damage they could do is 100 by evolving into a Decidueye. Nothing else is really like threatening us. Erica up to 90. We could really use the Poison Barb. Okay, a potion. We could essentially do potion here. Realistically, potion on both. because the Lily 60 is gonna come up later on. All we need to do is stay above the threshold of 100. So even like Giant Cape would be like good in this list, but since we are focusing not only on, but we're focusing on trying to poison them as well, wasting a cape on something like this and then not having a way to poison is kind of worse. And the reason we didn't just Cyrus out the Dartrix there is because then next turn they just back it out and then what, right? At least this way, if they go into like the Decidueye or they start, if they send Lurantis back, basically this case, we have an actual target that we could just knock out with Cyrus, and that's all she wrote, right? So we go here. And just like that, that's the game. This is far more efficient, far faster than any other like solo battle deck that I've done to this point. Thanks to Rare Candy. Honestly, not only does it make the opponent's decks better in this game, like in these expert solo battle guides, but also makes our decks a lot better. Regardless, we always do multiple tries, so let's go on to the second one. Alright, going first, which is not as optimal or like as ideal. Definitely not ideal, right? You definitely want to go second, but we'll still make it work. Realistically, one thing that this deck, like this build that we have, although it is like faster and more efficient, whatever, one thing we're not built to do is deal with, let's see here, Pokeball, Lily. What's it called? Like if they start Tapu Bulu and you don't find your attacks early enough, you could find yourself in trouble, like rather early. We do have a potion, so I don't feel bad about putting this Venipede down. And I guess we could Poison Barb off the rip. One downside to this list is that we are very dependent on that Poison Barb as being like the initial way of poisoning stuff. Other than that, we're just aggressively hitting for 70 and hoping it's fast enough. Okay, here you see here they dodged the barb. Okay, that's one way we could have thought like, oh, we should probably dodge the barb by doing that. Is it worth? Technically, they have. I think we could wait one more turn before we. Iono here, although we are risking them just going straight into the Decidueye and knocking out Venipede, right? So I think I'm gonna go potion here. And I'm actually gonna. This isn't in anticipation of them just straight up just going into the Decidueye and knocking out the Venipede that's in the front. That's what I anticipate them to do. And I'm just looking at like the one win condition we have. Yeah, it's like they can't help themselves, right? From just drawing bananas. There, we got the poison down. It's just crazy the difference between going first and second. Yeah, we're not necessarily forced to commit to the Scolipede here because we could communication find Whirlipede and Whirlipede survives an attack from Decidueye, but then what is the issue? So let's go Iono here, and we're really hoping for either Whirlipede or Rare Candy Scolipede. We got the research is dead. Rare Candy, Whirlipede. Oof. I was about to say, do we risk it? But this is guaranteed. And just like they had the exact cards they needed, we got the exact cards we needed. However, we are not out of the woods yet, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. We hit them for 120. They go down to 60. Now they have two options. One of them is just backing out. The other one is going straight head on and trying to hit us. I'm really hoping they don't just go Rare Candy into another Decidueye. I was like, Jesus, they have it. But no, it looks like, yeah, they're going to back out. So cards that kind of win us the game here would be a Cyrus. Cyrus would be huge. Other than that, like research into a Lily. Oh, there's the Cyrus though. Yeah, I think it's worth getting rid of that Decidueye now, and then worrying about what their follow-up might be, because outside of them going Rare Candy into another Decidueye, the most damage they could do, like in the following turns, is just 20 damage, regardless of this evolving or not. The energy is irrelevant, but Yep, it's all on Scolipede right now. We got our first knockout here. And again, all of this would be so much easier had we just gone second. But that's stuff that we can't control. We're not scared of Tapu Bulu in any way. There's Lily, which would put us back to 140, but we could take one more 20 damage before that happens, so let's not commit to that just yet. We could leave it for next turn. Both of those are dead, unfortunately. But that means the next 5 cards are going to be good, right? Poison Barb is ideally the card we wanted to draw there, so that anything that tries to hit us is automatically in lethal range. They could Erica to prolong the game, as well as bring out the Decidueye, right? Just to be a wall. But they did that. They decided to give us the game. That's like the bright side of going against these CBUs. And you see here, we were never going to lose. Let's say we didn't knock out this Lurantis. We would go back to 140. They would swing for 80. Putting us like to 60. And then we would heal back to 120. So that's just signs of how like the Lily works in this deck. But with just 70, we'd knock it out and take the W. So yeah, ideally this deck, you want to go second. Otherwise it starts getting a little ugly like this. So what I recommend, just like restarting until you go second, maybe. That will definitely limit how hard the win will be. But this deck is definitely capable of winning regardless. As far as like the changes, I will mention it in the deck profile, like the cards that I would recommend. Like that maybe you want to swap into this deck. However, I do feel like this is like the most aggressive and most successful way, like fastest way to do it, and hopefully it works for y'all. As you can see in the video, it worked for me. As always, this is like the first of many expert solo battle guides that I will be releasing with the new set. This is just the first one that I go in list order, like in the order of the list. This time around, there's no trainers or no nothing, so we will just flat out go straight down the line, showing you how to beat it with the opposite type, or like the type that they asked for, along with 3 diamonds or less. I already have most of them done. It's just a matter of like making the video or making sure that it's like fine-tuned. Like this list has gone through like 4 iterations between like the one that I finally beat the challenge with and the one that I'm presenting to you. I do believe this is the best way to do it. Hopefully you guys find success. I'm glad that it's a lot different. Like usually it feels like it's like a 1 card difference or one from like set to set, but this time with Rare Candy we were actually able to like give a completely new spin to the Scolipede list. Very similar to like what Charizard is doing in the actual meta, or like Rockruff with Rampardos. Like I sort of like took a page from their book and applied it to this. Hopefully it works for y'all. Once again, if you stuck this long and you're currently watching, thank you. If you enjoy this type of content, whether it's the expert solo battle guides or just Pokemon Pocket in general, we post everything on this channel. So if that's something that interests you, please consider liking and subscribing, and above all else, stay pro.